Good morning. It is day 10. It's a Tuesday. I have broken camp already. I'm eating breakfast right now, and I'm going to head out shortly to Guadalupe National Park, which is about 4.5 hours away. And there's an observatory on the way that has a couple of very large telescopes that I may stop at. The visitor center there opens at noon, so I'm taking my time here this morning since it's only about 3 hours away from here. Absolutely quiet night last night. Great campground. I'm headed up to the McDonald Observatory. Self-guided tour starting at noon. Then I'm going to camp at the Guadalupe National Park. So all told, I've got 4.5 to 5 hours of riding. Throw in the observatory. I probably won't reach the park until mid-afternoon. Looking at the map of the park, it's not clear to me that there's a lot of driving that you can do or riding you can do through the park. So it may be only a superficial visit to Guadalupe Mountains National Park, but we'll see when I get there to the visitor center. Looks like it's mostly hiking, and the roads only kind of kiss the corners of the park in a couple spots. Could have had a couple miles in the wrong direction to get some fuel. Make sure I can get out of this park successfully. That is quite the panorama. Say goodbye to the Chisos Mountains. And pretty soon I'll be out at Big Bend National Park. What a great park. Those are magnificent mountains. It's a pretty good view of the Santa Elena Canyon where the Rio Grande passes through, where it cuts into the mesa over there. That's where I was yesterday. Just past the exit gate. So I am now out of the national park. Wow, the landscape really changed. I got a heartbeat. There's Texas for you. Big land. Those are pretty impressive. Big Bend National Park is known, among other things, for the dark skies at night, since there aren't any cities nearby, cities or towns for that matter. And I was up at 6 this morning. The sun didn't rise until 7:30, so it was pitch black out. And the sky was the most brilliant I think I've ever seen in terms of the stars. And the stripe of the Milky Way galaxy was clearly evident in the sky. It was a really cool experience. There was no wind, it was dead calm, everything was quiet, and I could see so much of the sky that was up there, the stars and the constellations shining down. It was really an incredible moment. Well, the roads here certainly gotten a lot more interesting. Elevation changes and some sweepers. McDonald Observatory. Take a picture of this. It's inside the museum. Visitor complex. This is a model of the 82-inch first telescope that was installed here and became operational on May 5th, 1939. Deep grade ahead. All right, let's see what it's like. So there's two observatories over here, the original one and another one they built, and then the most modern one and the largest is over here. We're going to visit the oldest two first. I'm the only one here. $3 for the self-guided tour. This is the 107-inch telescope. That's cool. I knew that they put reflectors on the moon when they landed there, including with Apollo 11, the first one there. And they actually did calculations from this observatory. 82-inch telescope was the second largest telescope in the world at the time that it was in service. Still used today. Pretty good view of Texas. That's where I'm riding next, over to the next mountain top over there, where the biggest telescope is located. I think this one they have a viewing area where you can actually see the telescope in the inside. Very cool. Alright, tour stop number 2. 91 of these mirrors makes up the 432-inch or 11-meter primary mirror used on the Hobby Everly telescope. Pretty cool.
And Robert Everly, a donor to Penn State. It was dedicated in 1997. Then
that was a nice little diversion. My way down off the mountain and on the way to Guadalupe Mountains National Park. By the time I get there, it's going to be time for dinner and setting up camp. Aside from the road not being in perfect shape, it's actually a pretty decent ride coming out of that observatory. 118, Texas. Out in the flatlands again. On a desolate road. I haven't passed anybody or seen anybody coming in the other direction for 15 minutes. Enough of 118. Back to the interstates and the trucks. Interstate 10. Been here for 35 miles. I am coming up on 600 miles since my last chain maintenance. So you know what that means? Time to clean and lube the chain. Now I figure, based on the mileage I have on this bike, and I'm pretty careful about maintaining the chain every 600 miles. If you do the math, this bike right now has 53,330 miles on it. I have done probably in the neighborhood of 88 maintenance procedures on this chain. This is actually the third chain that I have had on the bike. The original one, and then I've replaced it twice. It takes me, let's say, 30 minutes to go through the procedure, between taking the bags off and putting the bike up on the center stand, getting my gear out, cleaning it, lubing it, and then reversing that whole procedure, getting the bike ready to run again. Probably 30 minutes. So that means with 88 chain maintenance procedures, 30 minutes apiece, I have spent roughly 44 hours of my life maintaining the chain. That's aside from putting the new chain on and taking the old one off and putting new sprockets on, etc. I don't know whether I'm any good at it or not, but I've certainly done it enough. I am now headed northwest off of the expressway, service my chain, refueled. 62 miles to go. Starting to run out of Texas. Looking at my rear tire, I think I'm coming up on 9,000 miles, and the wear bars are getting close to the surface. So I'm hoping I can swap the rear tire out in California, but that's another 1,000 miles away. I have hit 3,000 miles on this trip. Figure I've got another 1,000 or so to get to California before I start my long trek back home. I'm riding transfixed by those mountains. It's just like the Grand Teton range, where you can see it way off in the distance and it keeps getting closer and bigger and closer and bigger. I just entered Mountain Time Zone. So I gained an hour. Picnic area ahead. Maybe I can pull off there, take a photo. Well, I made it. Guadalupe Mountains National Park. I gotta see if the ranger station is open, given the fact that I gained an hour, and get a map, figure out whether there's any food anywhere. Tent camping. Campsite number 14. This is the campsite at Guadalupe Mountains National Park. Gotta go out and see if there's any water nearby. Fortunately, they didn't give me a park map, so and there was no check-in procedure. Got a tough sledding here for dinner. Digging into my emergency supplies. Savory chicken with wild rice, some dry roasted almonds, and for dessert, apple pie. And then a Powerade, which I was able to get at the store. Good morning. It is day number 11, September 11th, and it is a Tuesday. I am headed to a little hike here in Guadalupe National Park. It's about 6:45 in the morning. It's only going to last an hour or so. I have an appointment today at Carlsbad Caverns to visit the caverns any time between 11:30 and 12:30. So I'm just going to be here this morning for a short hike, and then I'll pack up my gear and go. Absolutely beautiful park here, although most of it is hiking. There's not much to see by way of road. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of a hike before it gets warm this morning. So first over to the visitor center. Let's see if I can find myself a map. This wall, which is shored up by wood, is the remains of the Pinery Station. It's part of the Butterfield Overland Mail system that was set up. That basically ran between San Francisco, California, and St. Louis, Missouri. And it ran in the late 1850s, 57 to 1859. It was stopped because of the Civil War in 1861, but it was a station that they were set 120 miles apart, and stagecoaches carried passengers and, most importantly, I guess, U.S. mail. Considered very successful at the time. Passengers and the drivers would stop here and rest and recuperate for the next day ride. But it's amazing that they were able to ride 120 miles a day on these stagecoaches. It is 9:30 local time. I'm going to try to do another short hike this morning before I leave the park. The reason I'm running a little bit late is that I thought I lost my National Park Pass, and I spent half an hour, 45 minutes searching everywhere. I used the pass last night and then it disappeared. It turns out what happened was I slipped the card into a vent instead of a pocket, and it basically fell down the liner in the jacket and ended up all the way at the bottom. It's starting to warm up already. It's 79 degrees. Wow. This hike is another short one. So I'm going to take the simple 0.6 mile round trip, Manzanita Springs. Trail starts to your right. Little lizard in there. Left my hat stupidly on the bike, but I did wear my motorcycle jacket, as warm as it is, because I want the water out here. It's a paved path, so it's not terribly long or difficult, but wow, look at all the lizards on the path. They just scatter as soon as I get close to them. Hello, lizard. Surprised he lets me get that close. I'm not gonna hurt you. Very cool. There, you run. Run. Here. I'm not taking you home. Keep going. Brave little one. Well, I'm not sure where the spring is. Trail keeps going and they don't have any signs or anything. I'm gonna turn around and go back. See my bike way out there. It's probably half a mile, 3/4 of a mile away. You have to be made of pretty sturdy stuff to come out and live out here. There's a little canyon here to my right, but there's no water in it. Well, it was an interesting walk. Not quite as nice as the one I did first thing this morning. It was cooler. Goodbye, Guadalupe Mountains National Park. Here I come, Carlsbad Caverns. It's time to say goodbye to Texas. There we go. Welcome to New Mexico, land of enchantment. I was last in New Mexico in 2021 on my Four Corners tour going eastbound. Now I'm going westbound through New Mexico. Cut off the main drag there. And here I am, Carlsbad Caverns National Park. 7 miles back to the visitor center. It is 10:45. I'm scheduled for 11:30. I'll see whether I can get in a little bit early. Carlsbad Caverns is apparently popular because they have a timed entry. The attendance at some of these national parks has reached records over the last several years. They're trying to fight overcrowding, and there's a couple of them that I'm going to that have timed entry, including Arches, which had timed entry the last time I rolled through in early 2022. I'm going to try to pick it in advance to get in there. And they have a situation where if you get there very early in the morning or late in the evening, you can avoid the timed entry system. So that's my fallback. I worked our way up to a little bit of altitude here. Wow, look at that. Look how flat that is out there. And national parks after my own heart. Tenere, nice. Oh, Tenere, super Tenere. Here we are at the visitor center. It's a pretty good representation of where I'm going. So there's the visitor center up there. I'm going to take the elevator back, probably go walk down. There's a big room that I hope to visit. There's a big room. So I'm taking the natural entrance, so I'm going to walk down and then try to take the elevator back up. And that's the entrance. It was discovered in 1898. Well, this should be a challenge. Many switchbacks along the steep path as it descends 75 stories to the big room. So they're comparing it to the Empire State Building. Distance at 1.25 miles, 750 feet elevation change. Hike time 1 hour. Long way down there. Programmer said to use your library voice because apparently if you speak in a normal tone, it travels a long way down the cave. This is going to be fun. Say goodbye to daylight. And just heard a cough from way down there. For sheer scale, I think this cave system has Mammoth Caves beat. It's just huge. I keep hoping that I can get some sense of the scale for this place in the camera, but I'm not sure that I can. This cavern is just gigantic. This is called the Green Lake Room. Break area here in the cave. Fairyland, popcorn-covered stalagmites. And the stalactites. This room is just huge. It's called Temple of the Sun. Columns, stalagmites, and stalactites. The stalagmites and stalactites are just incredible. Here's a ladder from 1924. It was used by an early explorer of the caves. No idea where it goes. It's almost otherworldly. This is gypsum, the same material that's used in drywall. Full fingers. They're stone now, but they used to be gel-like strings of bacterial colonies living underwater. This is called the Doll's Theater. Soda straws and small columns. I am headed to Brantley Lake State Park, which is about an hour ride away. The bike is saying it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The caves were just phenomenal. Best caves I've been in yet. They were huge. It took me 3 hours to go through them. I started at 11:30, walked all the way down. It's the equivalent of walking down 75 flights of stairs, as tall as the Empire State Building underground. And then walked around inside after having a snack for probably another hour and a half. What a fabulous park. And it goes on, I've forgotten how many miles they said, but like 140 miles underneath the ground from what they found so far. You continue to find new caverns and passageways. So you can see the road there heading towards, coming down off of this elevation. So that's National Park number 4 on this trip. Tomorrow I'm heading up through New Mexico towards Arizona, and my next national park is Petrified Forest, which is a ways away. Getting kicked around by the wind a little bit. I don't have far to go, 2.5 miles. I bought myself some groceries, nothing I need to cook, and I made sure that whatever I'm having for breakfast should be able to survive the night if it doesn't get very cool. The Brantley Lake State Park, New Mexico State Parks Division. It's very breezy out right now, so I'm not going to put the tent up. They did provide a windbreak, but there's not a really good spot to put the tent behind it that I can see. I'll experiment a little bit later. Alright, sushi, fresh cut fruit, sweet tea that I've already had about a quarter of, some naan, and there's a donut in there somewhere for dessert. That's the dinner. This is the Desert Lake View.